Hey, hey, Bronco Nation and Bronco fans. It is I, the Phoam Ranger, here with another episode of Phoam Ranger Sports. This one's gonna be going into a bit of the debate over Liam Rice. Should he stay or should he go? Like the start of this conference season, hasn't gone well. We're 1-5 right now after the game last night against UNLV on the road with that overtime loss and tied a conference losing streak of four, which we did last in 2018. And again, we're 1-5 right now, and to start off conference play in 2011-12 season, our first year, we start off 1-8. So it's looking similar to that a little bit. Especially with some of the head scratching performances to start conference play in the first six games. Especially the first five, we were really slow in terms of scoring in the first half, and a lot of times we would be down pretty soon, or be down like 6-2, 8-2 twice by the first media timeout. And then again, like the San Diego State game where we trailed by like 20 at half, and then the Utah State game where we trailed by 20 and ultimately as much as 30 points. So this has been a bit of a head scratching and definitely below standard play recently in terms of playing a conference play in the Mountain West Conference to start this conference season. Again, we have not seen this really much under Liam Rice. This is really first time, again, since 2018, a four-game conference losing streak, and again, the first time since 2011-2012 season where we have lost this many conference games to start a season in conference play. Again, let's not forget non-conference play. We did win a couple quad 1, quad 2 games. Yes, we did lose a couple of those, and yes, we had that head-scratching loss to Hawaii Pacific D2. And just like a lot of other years, we've had like a quad 4 loss as well. Like if I remember correctly, we lost last year to quad 4 squad, and every year before that we have. 2019 we opened up with a quad 4 loss at home against Idaho State. 21, let's not forget, the worst offense was showing in program history at home against CSUB, the game that saw the emergence of Tyson Dagenhart, because that was his first game he played in. So yes, with that said, there's been a lot of debate on social media about, should Leon be given the heave-ho? Should he be fired, or should we keep him? In my opinion right now, yes, he should be warm, because obviously the program has not been, his program so far this conference season has been playing up to the standards of what Boise State has been. But again, at the same time, this is a little bit of rebuild year, and again, we've had a little bit of unlucky fuck that's been going on. Like last week, I hear that there was possibly some kind of bug that was going around the locker room. Didn't prevent anyone from playing, but definitely made certain they were not 100%. Some kind of like maybe a little stomach bug or like some kind of cold or something. Again, just rumors I've heard. Not 100% certain, but that's something I've heard through the grapevine. Is that again the team was dealing with some kind of illness or cold last week in the Grand Canyon and the Utah State game, which definitely impacted how well they could prepare or practice leading up to those games, and even playing those games. Again, wasn't severe enough to force anyone to not play. But again, if you have a cold, like a common cold, that can definitely affect your play a bit. So that's possible. That's one thing that happened. Again, one of our leading scorers, Jeb Buchanan, he got or a lower body injury, I think one that happened last year. think it was a lower body injury last year that hampered him a bit. Reportedly against Grand Canyon, that did flare up a little bit, but he viewed, along with the coaching staff and trainers, that he could still play through it, and he did throughout the rest of that game. And then there was Utah State game last Saturday, where, again, that lower body injury reportedly flared up even more after he played 10 minutes and he was done for the rest of that game. Then last night, he sat out. He was held out that game due to that injury, just so that he could rest up, get ready for a big game on tomorrow night on Friday. Well, not tomorrow, sorry, I keep forgetting right now. It's Wednesday, January 14th. On Friday the 16th is when they will host the Colorado State Rams in a big game for both teams, since both are on losing streaks. I'll preview more of that game, but still, that's, as I mentioned in the post-game or recap for UNLV last night, I brought up that injury, had he been good to play, maybe that could have swayed favor or play more to favor Boise State, potentially win that game instead. Same thing with Dylan Andrews. Again, he was cramping up at both legs reportedly. That's why reports are that after the buzzer sounded at end of regulation, after Fielder hit that three, he was on the bench and having both the legs iced because of cramps in both the legs, and that's where it wasn't even go. So it's been a little crazy to start conference play, and let's not forget, also one thing that maybe not many people realize is that we had a bit of a gauntlet to start our conference season because of the schedulers at the Mountain West Conference. Want to really test the Broncos to start off the conference slate, because again, like Nevada, Grand Canyon, New Mexico, San Diego State, Utah State, and UNLV, those were all like the top five. I mean, before UNLV, like all those others were in the top five in the conference going into conference play, and pretty dang good teams too. So we got a bit of a gauntlet again. Like, it's always a little tough historically for us to win in Reno. It's also tough to win at Viejas as well. And let's not forget, like last year, we got absolutely bodied at Viejas Arena. And then here at home, we lost as well, but we did beat them in the conference from last year in the semifinals. And before last year, we were on like a 3 or 4 game win streak against the Aztecs as well. And again, Nevada, we've had issues playing against Nevada. And Grand Canyon, that was the first time I've ever seen them, so we weren't really used to or have much experience at all against playing them or their strategies or their offense or defensive schemes, and that definitely had an impact on that game. Again, Utah State showed why they are one of the best teams in the Western United States, letting alone Mountain West Conference, and why they were deserving of today being ranked in 23rd in the nation. So, yeah, the UNLV, a little bit of unlucky breaks with, again, Jay Buchanan not being ready to go, still recovering for that lower body injury. And then at the end of regulation, Dylan Andrews' legs were cramping up something fierce and had to sit out the overtime period and have the freshman A.G. Neto, who hasn't really played in that kind of situation before, of playing overtime in a 5-minute overtime, and where every possession counts and matters significantly way more than than regular season possessions normally do. He was not really familiar to that situation and being the point guard for all 5 minutes, and the team did not perform that well. in the overtime period. I mean, again, multiple turnovers, missed free throws, and some not so good shot selection, but still, we have gotten a little unlucky with the draw to start conference play. Again, taking on like some of the cream of the crop of the Mountain West Conference to right off the get go, including on the road. Yeah, so yeah, let's not forget to, like Leon has been here, yes, since the 2011-12 season, but again, let's not forget when he came in, there wasn't much fanfare for the men's team. I mean, the crowd was his brainchild. In reality, it was his brainchild. When he came in, he wanted to create a student section because before then, yes, there was a student section, but it wasn't an official one. It wasn't tied in with Boise State Athletics or at that point it was Boise State Marketing that was ultimately charge of the crowd, the official student section. When he came in and when he got it started as the official student section of Boise State, it was just a group of Broncos students who were passionate about basketball, but then became more of a legitimate official student section and student club at Boise State. And so before that, it was not as huge. I mean, even some of the guys, when I joined the crowd board as a Yell leader in 2014, there was still some of the OG that started the crowd as the official student section. Even they said there were some games where in the student section, in the Boise State student section, because at that point they didn't have a name or anything like that, some games were maybe like 20 total. But now, like past few years and about how the crowd has been, that's a bit of a testament to Leon Rice and Boise State's vision, Flooney Dickey's vision for the crowd, the student section. Yeah, this year has been a little weird for the crowd. Hopefully it will improve. Again, students are back in school this week, I hear, so yeah, they should definitely have better showing for Friday. Again, like last week, I think they were still on vacation, on winter break. So, yeah, so other than that, and again, so back to what I was saying about when he came in, obviously, a lot of the coaches before him, there was only like 5 years total where the men's basketball team had 20 wins at a minimum. And looking in his 16 years, he's had like at least 10 seasons with 20 wins. So he set a new standard for the program of getting 20 wins is now the standard for this program. That's good, like he is the only head coach in program history to have multiple NCAA tournament berths. All the others have probably one each, and that was when they won their conference tournaments or their conferences. Because back then they may not have had a conference tournament. Again, we have like one Mountain Conference championship victory, like in 2021. When we won the tournament, we have like 2 regular season titles, and we have, so like that's about 2 years where we win in more of like an AQ, and we have like 3 at-large bids under Leon for the NCAA tournament, which is unheard of. Since again before Leon, the only times we got in was because we won the conference and that was it, not as an at-large, but Leon's got us more to a point where we have played well enough, beat enough quad 1, quad 2 opponents in the regular season, including conference play, to earn an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament multiple times. So he's really helped turn this program around from where it was before it came to where it is now. And also, when he came in, the athletic budget for men's basketball was among the worst in the conference, the worst in Mountain West. A lot of times they had to fly commercially, which many people might not really think about, but again, that does take a lot longer versus chartered. And back then, when he first started here, the budget didn't really have any availability for chartered, and sometimes they ought to just bus to a game probably, like maybe to like Utah State. They probably maybe bus to in the past, but a lot of times we would probably have to fly out commercially and have to go through like commercial airports and to have like a little stop out point or layover, stuff like that, where they would have to switch planes, which would take even longer, and which cut into like recovery time that they could use for film study, film prep, scouting, practice. Remember, as I mentioned, the budget was pretty low, so they ought to be real careful about every dollar and cent they spent, including for recruiting as well. And yeah, we got some great guys to come in, but again, they're more like probably 2-star, 3 stars, sort of like football in the 2000s under Coach Pete. But now look at us. But you compare that to where we are now, where we can do charter flights. We could get like 4-star, 3-star, 4-star caliber players, maybe potentially 5-star caliber players to want to come in from high school or to transfer in. I mean, like Drew Fielder, Dylan Andrews, Abu Kijab, just to name a few, like Tyson Degenhardt, who came in as a freshman. That shows a lot of continuity and says a lot about how Leon has built this program up. So in terms of whether he should be fired, shouldn't it be? I mean, at least right now. I mean, one thing people may not realize is that if Boise State were to fire Leon Rice, especially after this year, they would owe him $4.7 million paid out next few years because of, again, the contract stipulations and about the incentives he's had as well. That was a tweet by BJ about that. And also Twitter, I think it was Derek Morales, who was another member of the Blue Collar Club and Section 12 along with me, who was also a Nate Rice reporter as well. Like earlier today, he tweeted out like the fact that in the last 5 years, the Bronco men's team has the highest average regular season finish of any team. Like again, in 25 they finished fourth, 24 they finished second, 23 they finished second, 22 they finished first, 21 they finished fourth. I mean that they finished an average of 2.8. And they also have more titles in the last 4 years than anyone else in the conference in men's basketball, and only San Diego State has more title game appearances of Broncos. Because in the last four full seasons, San Diego State has 2 total titles, 1 regular season, 1 Mountain West conference tournament, St. Boise State. San Diego State has been to 3 conference title games, Broncos with 2. New Mexico also has 2 total titles, 1 regular season, 1 conference championship. And again, last 4 years, New Mexico's only been in 1 title game. Again, that was a 24 conference tournament where, again, they came in having only won 8 conference games, and they went on a run to win the conference tournament. And he also mentions that some of the frustration can be about the out-of-conference schedule philosophy and the NCAA tournament. I mean, yeah, like you can have gripes about the fact that we haven't won when Leon's been the head coach. I mean, he's had 16 years. He's lost five in the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament again. Like, we and non-comp play. We beat like quad one games. I mean, we win quad one games in non-comp play. Like again this year, Butler, St. Mary's. Last year, St. Mary's. We've also been to some other power conference teams as well, or major conference teams in the past few years as well. But at the same time, we like this year, Hawaii Pacific. Last year, we lost to Boston College in the championship of the in-season multi-team event tournament. In that championship game, and that turned out to be a quad four loss. 23, we lost to a quad four team. 22, we lost to a quad four team. Quad 21, as I mentioned, the Tyson Dagenhart game, the one he in his first action as Bronco, we lost that one. That was quad four loss too. So yeah, so you can have some gripes about that too. About like we have some real good wins in non-comp, but also like head scratching loss in non-con. It's the time to see him in the conference play as well. So we also in a reply mentioned about the scheduling philosophy is that he does much harder in out of conference. To get those quad one potential opportunities, but at the time, you schedule a little harder in non-conference play. You also set yourself up for more losses in non-conference play too. Against quality opponents like this year. We decided to do the Mount Invitation, and we knew like teams like USC, NC State would be in it. We wanted those kind of teams. Same as Seton Hall. I mean, it didn't pan out for us as we were hoping to. So I mean, yeah, you could maybe want to do a little easier out of conference scheduling, but again, you do that, really hoping to get a lot of quad one opportunities in conference play. Again, Mountain West Conference is real tough to play in if you're the road team. And again, you also don't get as many opportunities potentially to have, like a Beller game or St. Mary's where early season you can have a lock or a virtual lock of a quad one game and not have to worry about that going the rest of the season versus conference play, anything can happen. So that's why I think the strategy works pretty good for what Boise State needs to do. Yes, it does open up for more losses in non-conference play, but again, at the same time, you get those wins. Those are massive resume builders and give you huge boosts as well in the resume. So yeah, so that's part of the reason why. And again, let's not forget too, when he first came into, fan base probably maybe it was like 4,000, maybe 5,000 max for home games, including conference play. But you look over the years he's been here and how he's kept elevating the program to where it is now, or through last year. You know, now we have games we've sold out. Yes, sometimes that's driven by the opposing team, like again, like a Clemson or Single State, Utah State, where if a team comes in ranked, that does generally add a few more, couple more thousand fans. But again, like last year, we had some games where we were sold out and might have been like a Fresno or maybe middle of the pack Mountain West team, but we were still sold out or had like 10,000 plus fans. That's because of, the program that Leon has built over the years and the support he's built overall. And so, yeah, that's ultimately why I think he still needs to be the head coach for us. And I think, like this is a little bit of a rebuild year. Again, first year post Tyson Degenhart, post Unicorn. I call him Unicorn because, again, of how much he's meant to this program and, that he is 1 in a million kind of player. I mean, again, last year he didn't have to come back. He could have done what a lot of other players, what a lot of other student athletes do if they have such a pedigree as he had, which is to go into transfer portal and get like $2, maybe $3 million. He might have been worth that much, if not more. But he decided to stay with Boise State and show that kind of leadership and that kind of loyalty. This year again, first year without him. And I think no one really stepped up, especially from like the upperclassmen like Andrew Meadow or RJ Keene. I don't think either of them really stepped up to play the role of Tyson Degenhart in terms of being a vocal on the court and in the locker room kind of leader as he was, in terms of leading by example. Which again, those two and a few others again caused a little controversy before the season even started with that picture of the University of Utah. We went to the Utes college football game day game, and Utah gear and had a picture that was plastered all over social media and given the team not the best light because of that. So, yeah, right now I'm not totally certain what kind of leadership this team has in terms of player leadership. Too, I think that's probably a key missing element as well. Again, that was a role that Tyson Degenhart the past couple of years really filled. I think we're seeing a bit of the repercussions of not having a solid leader like him on this year's team. And again, it was brought up after the first game of the season, about how frustrated and how panicky everyone was on the team, including on the bench in terms of players. They didn't have like a veteran leader like Tyson Degenhart was to calm them down and say, hey, you know what, we can do this. Here's what we need to do. We need to stay the course. There wasn't in that, and which is unfortunate because I was hoping, honestly, that like RJ Keene or Andrew Meadow would have stepped up and taken over that role. I mean, again, RJ Keene, he's a senior. He was on the team like the past 4 years. Part of that threes Pete. Like he was a key part of he was on the team for the 3 years we went to the NCAA tournament, back-to-back years, or at least two of them. And then last year he was on the CBC team. We went to the semifinals and held up pretty good against Nebraska. So I was hoping he would have stepped up and been the leader similar to Tyson Degenhart was. Doesn't look like he has. Same thing for Andrew Meadow. Again, he's a true junior this year. His first year was when we went to the NCAA tournament and again lost to Colorado in the first round. Last year he had an even bigger role. Went to the conference title game and again went to the semifinals of the CBC, so the college basketball crown. So, looks like the player leadership hasn't also been as good as it probably should have been. That probably has played into some of the games this year too. Not in terms of leading from on the court, but also from on the bench and in the huddles and in practice as well. So yeah, I think this year, that's what we see. This is a bit of a rebuild year. And yeah, a bit of a down year so far. Again, the team has really been playing up to the expectations. I mean, a lot of people thought that this would be the third best team in the conference and playing for like an at-large bid. Obviously, the second part is out. I don't think we'll be playing the NCAA tournament this year. I mean, players are pretty talented, and yes, they could potentially be NCAA worthy, but in terms of consistently playing like it, they have yet to really do that collectively as a whole. Some that is the coaching, but also again they don't really have much of a player leader like they have the past few years. So yeah, I definitely say that has really played a huge impact on this season, going the way it has, including conference play too. So yeah, so that's why I say it's okay for this year. Be a little bit of rebuild year. Maybe try to restart the program a little bit. Sometimes that happens every once in a blue moon. You get one of those kind of years, especially when you lose a talented player like Tyson Degenhardt. That could definitely happen. So yeah, a bit of a down year, bit of a rebuild year. But again, in his 16 years, or his 16-ish years since 2011 2012 season, like majority of the time we're getting 20 wins. We're in the top like four, even three of the conference, which is unheard of. I mean, especially considering where we were when he came in to where we are now. I don't think anyone really would have seen that coming, but it did. And sometimes, this kind of year happens just out of the blue. Use this as a bit of a rebuild year to help reshape and refocus the program and to try to work on building foundations better for next year, our first year in the Pac 12. And if we do really well, who knows, we might be in the NCAA tournament next year. And knows we might even win it in it as well. Because part of the lack of success, ultimately, I believe, is about the matchups. We've had some good matchups before, but also some where we were pretty much like a fish out of water, like in the Memphis one. They had like 3 or 4 NBA caliber guys on that year's team. Again, they were like playing extremely high level basketball. Again, we're from the Mountain West, which is more mid major. And so the level of talent is definitely different. Northwestern, again, another team from a highly prestigious conference that's mid-major. And again, we only played those kind of teams maybe once or twice a year, mainly a non-conference game, non-conference play. So yeah, I mean, if we get some draws like San Diego State did the year they went to the championship game, maybe we could get some. Maybe we can make a bit of a run at the NCAA tournament. Because again, that year San Diego State played like back-to-back-to-back games against mid-tier, mid-major conferences, maybe a low-tier power conference. And then like a round of the Elite Eight, they played Alabama. Then the Final Four, they played a high-level team. And so ultimately, our strategy more for scheduling, again, is more of trying to schedule, yes, those kind of games, maybe one of those or maybe two. But again, it's not necessarily for building to be able to beat those teams necessarily that year. It's more of get us ready for conference play so that we can do some damage in that, stack wins in conference play, so that we put ourselves in position to be on the bubble as potentially an at-large in case we don't win the conference tournament in March. Because again, if you're a mid-major team like Boise State, the majority of the time that's how you're going to have to get in. At the same time, though, remember, you do that, you leave yourself up for a possibility of maybe getting like a 9 seed, having to play an 8 seed from like a major conference that he's used to continually playing against high-level competition at the major level versus Boise State and Mountain West, where you're in conference play, yes, playing talented teams like San Diego State, Utah State, New Mexico, but year in, year out, you're also playing teams like San Jose State, Air Force. Well, I mean, some years are good, some years they're not so good. Fresno recently has been pretty poor. So you get a bit of a mix of really good but also really crap teams you're playing against in conference play. So it's really tough to get yourself really playing where you can continue to play against high level teams and really be pushing yourself game in, game out to even be better and better. Because it's tough to do that if you're going into, again, like Air Force or like Fresno recently, that, again, only wins like maybe like 5 or 6 conference games and who can easily blow them out by like 20 points. It's tougher to get your team ready to play like a team like San Jose State or Utah State, New Mexico, like every single game, like for like 18, 20 games. That high level caliber team for like 18 to 20 games. It's tough to do. So, that's why, he does need, ultimately Leon does need to face some accountability for how the non conference or the conference has gone. Again, the team has performed below standards, and even he can agree to. He probably agreed that in those games, yes, there's been some things that have worked against Boise State, but overall, the team under him hasn't been playing up to what the standard should be. And he'll take accountability for that, yes. And that's why I'd say for now, not a hot seat, but warm, definitely. Should he be fired up this year? No, I'd say give him, maybe a year or two after we start in the Pac 12, see how we do, and see if he's able to get us back to that high caliber, high stand level, maybe even push the standard even higher. Or if not, then we can really discuss, and maybe his seat should be hot. And then it's going to be a discussion of, okay, how can we, like, fire him, pay his $4.7 million, pay him the $4.7 million the next few years, then hire a new coach who will probably have to set up a whole new culture and everything else. And have to revamp a new budget and all that stuff too. Because again, let's not forget our budget is a little wonky right now. Since it was reported as part of one of the ongoing lawsuits that was brought up by some of the departing teams that lead the Mountain West in front of the Pac-12, some of one of the lawsuits is because the Mountain West Conference withhold like 80% of the postseason winnings, including NCAA tournament units, for the past couple of years from the departing teams like San Jose State, Boise State, Utah State, Colorado State. Instead of giving those funds to those specific schools, the conference withheld it. So again, that's money that probably could have gone to, again, a program, but again, the conference withheld it too. So that seemed less money that they probably would have had. So again, money does have a good impact on things too. I mean, is it a good time though to be having a bit of a down year? No, especially with the reseeding that is going to happen next year. Probably not the best time to have a down year, but hey, sometimes it is what it is. Overall though, do I think he should be fired right now? No. Do I think he should be fired in the next couple of years? It all depends on how his program does in years 1 and 2 of the Pac 12. Again, if we're not vying for conference titles or make at least runs to the conference championship game, or even, like much discussion all about us being the NCAA tournament those first 2 years, then I'd say probably time to start having his seat be hot and maybe looking at, okay, who could potentially be his replacement. But for now, he is our coach, and we'll just play out the rest of the season as it goes because it can turn around. We can make some noise at conference tournament. We can make it, who knows? We can have a magical run going into and in the conference tournament. We go on a run, and March 14th, we might, there's always potential. We may be playing in the conference title game. We might even win it. Who knows? So there's still a lot of basketball to be played, but so far, especially conference play, it has been below standard. And Leon should face some criticism for that, for how the team has performed, and he has. I mean, has he necessarily been the best at it? Every sponsor, no. I mean, again, the point guard play hasn't been the best, but just maybe the way he addressed him, maybe not the best, and especially, Grand Canyon press post game presser, you know, his quotes about the fan base probably not the best of time to be talking about the fans and give those kind of thoughts after that kind of game win. And he probably would admit that the program right now, this season in conference play, has been playing up to the standards of what it could be. So yeah, so those are ultimately my thoughts along like from BJ Rains, how much you Boise State Athletics would have to pay Leon Rice if they were to fire him, especially at the end of this year, and like Derek's points about Jack Mouse's points on Twitter about some of the things like about how like over the last 4 years, we've finished on average the highest in conference and also tied with Single State for the most conference titles in the past 4 years and second most championship game appearances in the past 4 years too. Along with other little details as well about things going on. So yeah, so again, these are just my thoughts along with those things as well about Neil Rice, if he should still be the coach, which again, I still do believe he should be, at least through the first couple of years of the Pac 12 conference era. Then we can reevaluate at the earliest for reevaluation after year two of the Pac 12 era. But till then, maybe just a little warm seed. Not an uncomfortable seed for him, a warm seed. But still, not firing yet. Not really that close to firing at this point. Just more of a warm seed. And see where it goes from here. So I still do have some faith in Liam Rice that he can right the ship. I mean, again, still playing up basketball play this year. Again, next year, who knows what can happen. Maybe we got some pretty solid freshmen this year. Who knows, like Ethan Lathan, Bon Phoam, and Nathan. What's his? I gotta look up this roster this year because there's one freshman that they're redshirting this year. He hasn't played all. Noah Benninger. He's supposed to be pretty good again. Drew Fielder's going to be back next year. And Meadows going to be back next year. Julian Bowie, getting redshirt. He could be back next year. AJ Neto, he's a freshman. He'll be back next year. Pino Carmichael, he's been playing pretty dang good this year. He'll be a junior next year. Rachel Burgesson will probably be playing on the bench again next year as redshirt senior. Again, Ahrens has been playing pretty dang well for a freshman. He'll be a sophomore next year. Brendan Ramirez, deep bench next year, redshirt senior. I mean, the only players that'll definitely be leaving after this season are like Dylan Andrews, RJ Keene, and Dominic Perlin, and Chad Buchanan. Those only four. Everyone else theoretically could come back. Because everyone else is either like a freshman, sophomore, or junior this year. So I have those four. I mean, yes, there's always potential at portal. And again, we can always get some pretty good players come in too. I mean, Andrews has been a little hit and cold this year. Especially more colder start conference play, but looks like he's refined his confidence and his shot. But I'd say Drew Fielder has definitely been a huge hit from the transfer portal. Again, he's just true junior, so he'll be back next year. I don't think he will enter the portal. I think he's here to graduate from Boise State next year. That's the case. He's going to be a huge addition, and he's going to have a even bigger year next year. So again, this year's a bit of a rebuild year, but no next year. we could potentially make some noise again with the players we got come back. We have some portal additions and some freshmen out of high school. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the roster looks for next year, but I think next year we could definitely be a real solid team based upon the return of pieces that theoretically should be back next year in terms of like players are currently freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. I mean, we might have a pretty dang good team next year that could maybe win Pac 12 year one. We'll see. But again, we still got plenty of basketball left to play this year. So, yep, could be in for a bit of a ride this year for the rest of this year. So, yep, we'll just see how the rest of this year goes and maybe chalk up this year to just being a bit of a down year, rebuild year, just reshaping our culture, especially after the unicorn left because of graduation and exhausting his eligibility in Tyson Degenart. You know, he was a key foundational piece of the past 4 years and about building the culture and program to where it has been. Again, just like football this year, you know, just having to adapt to year one without one of the arguably best players in program history. They can always be a little judgmental and cause some havoc for a season. So we'll see how the rest of this year goes and how next year goes. But Leon Rice is still our coach. I still believe in him. I believe that yes, that he can get this program, this year's team, playing more up to the standard. I know it's maybe make some noise at Vegas and maybe get some big wins that maybe people right now are doubting their ability to.